welcome to Beauty Bosses. I am so pleased to introduce you guys to the amazing Stephanie Gottlieb.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. You guys probably all know Stephanie already because she's made such a name for herself in the jewelry industry in such a short time. But Stephanie is a jeweler and jewelry designer based here in New York City. And she specializes in custom bridal, but she really does a lot of different things. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, this is Beauty Bosses, and you're a boss, and you work in the beauty field. So we wanted to start by asking you a little bit about your business. So tell everybody a little bit about your company and how you got started.
Okay, so I really fell into the jewelry world. I was not planning to end up here, but when I graduated from school, I took an internship at a diamond company, and it was sort of just to kill time until I figured out what I was going to do, and I ended up loving it, of course. What's not to love?
Who doesn't love jewelry?
Right, so I stayed for 5 years, sort of learned the whole wholesale world, and then decided it was time to do my own thing. And the jewelry world is very lateral in terms of, there's the people who run the companies and the people who work for the companies, and it doesn't really, there's no movement.
Yeah, there's no ladder, right? There's no,
it's
at least to me, it seems like it. Yeah.
A lot of family-owned companies, a lot of companies that have been around for, decades. So for me to really make a mark and do something that I wanted to do, I had to start my own company, and so I took that leap, and I did, and that was 5 years ago, and it's been amazing ever since.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So talk us through what a day in your life looked like 5 years ago when you were just starting out and you were a newbie with a dream.
Yep.
And versus today, now that you have a very established brand.
So 5 years ago, I would wake up at 10 o'clock, I went to the gym.
Those were the days, right?
Yeah, I had, a leisurely lunch, maybe 1 or 2 meetings, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And that was great. There was always that fear of, is this going to work? Is it going to take off?
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, I had gotten engaged or married right before I left the company that I did. And so it was that time in my life and my friends' lives when people were starting to get engaged, and that sort of snowballed into what has become my business now, which is really bridal focused.
Okay.
And so once that happened, and word of mouth can take you only so far, Instagram started to become this monster that it is now. And that really like took the business to a totally different level.
Yeah. How has Instagram helped you?
It was very unexpected. No one knew that it would do what it has for businesses, but I love being creative and I love photography and styling, and so that was sort of my perfect platform to show beautiful pieces in really beautiful ways, and kind of get out my aesthetic and my way of layering and show people, what you can do with jewelry. And really the whole thing about Instagram is that you can make things so accessible.
And it's so visual, right?
So visual.
Like shiny, pretty things.
Exactly.
You want to look at them.
There's nothing not to love about a picture of a diamond ring. And it does make a world that feels really, antiquated and, unapproachable, accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah. What percentage of your business comes from Instagram?
I mean, I want to say 100%.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, New York City is a difficult place to work in my capacity because everybody who's grown up here has a jeweler. Their mom has a jeweler, their cousin is a jeweler. So to kind of break into that is hard. And when word of mouth was my only means of business, it was, a quieter time and things were slower. And once I was able to access a whole new group of people, it really opened up new doors for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do you think that social media is kind of the future? Because sometimes I feel like I'm never on my computer anymore. I do everything from my phone. It's like an app world now.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know what's next.
I know, right?
And I think that like what we're doing right now is a huge part of that.
Podcasting.
Podcasts and just kind of live video. And it feels more real. It feels like something you can really relate to when you're seeing like real people, and not something that's so stylized, because, you know, you can edit a video, but there's still sort of some reality to it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of the next step, and I've tried to break into it with my new YouTube video series. So I'm doing diamond education videos, and the intent behind that was that so many people email us and they're really uneducated about how to buy a diamond, what they need to know.
Well, it's overwhelming.
It is, and there is a lot of science to it, which people kind of overlook.
Yeah.
But I made these videos kind of as like a Diamonds 101 or like a Diamond for Dummies, and just sort of broke down like the very basics of what you need to know, because when you Google, you know, diamond engagement ring or diamond buying, there's so much information, and so much of it is not even something you need to focus on.
So on that note, tell us, you know, we've all heard of the 4 C's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of us, most of us.
Yeah.
But what are like 3 really important things to know about diamonds that aren't in the 4 C's?
I think it's more about like how you navigate the 4 C's.
Oh, okay, okay.
A lot of people come to us and they say, you know, I need D color and flawless clarity. Those would be the highest grades. And that's because they haven't looked at a diamond in person, and they're just Googling and reading that that's the best, so they assume they need the best. And, you know, while with an unlimited budget, that would be wonderful, and we'd all love to have a D flawless diamond. In reality, there's some, you know, negotiation that has to be made to kind of find you the size you want, and also give you some quality. So it's about sort of navigating through the 4 C's to figure out what the best compromise is.
I feel like that's so reasonable.
Yeah, and so that's with the videos, I'm sort of breaking down, you know, here's what I think is a realistic quality that's not, you know, compromising too much, that it's going to be visibly obvious that you've compromised on color or clarity, but also doesn't need to be the tip top.
Totally. Okay, so let's take a step back. We have talked a little bit about how you built this awesome brand, and everyone on Instagram loves you, and everything is, you know, shiny and beautiful and all of that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the setbacks you faced, because so many people in entrepreneurial fields, or really any field at all, are faced with challenges. So can you tell us a little bit about one of the biggest setbacks that you had? And it might include a story about, you know, did you ever feel like you weren't going to make it, or did anyone tell you weren't going to make it?
So I think there are 2 things that sort of stand out to me. The first is that when you're starting a business and you don't have a name, it's hard to sort of legitimize yourself. And not even so much to the customer, but to the people you want to work with. So when I reach out to other jewelry designers, because we also have a fashion website where you can purchase jewelry from my collection, but also collections of other designers that I love, I found myself sort of hitting walls with certain designers who didn't necessarily think that my website was worthy of their pieces.
Right.
And I was a newbie, and I was working with brands that sort of had, you know, lesser known names, and really instead of looking at it as a setback, I kind of took a step back and said, okay, those designers are already on every website that you can already shop for jewelry, so my approach is going to be to work with the lesser known designers and to help them build their brands. So if you look at my website, I mean, things have changed. A lot of people are now working with those designers too, but in the beginning, they were sort of up and coming as well, and we've been able to grow our businesses together. And a lot of them are young women who are sort of, you know, working against the same uphill battle that I was at the time.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And then the other is just, you know, I think this happens in every industry. When you're doing something well, people are going to copy you. And so it's really hard
all the time. It's so
it's hard
frustrating,
to
right?
set yourself apart. It's hard to remind people that you were doing it first.
Yeah, and then you put all this work into it, and your ideas are like poof everywhere.
Yeah. And so you find creative ways to get around that. And
how have you gotten around it? I need some help.
For me, it was being candid with the people that I'm working with about how I felt about other people doing what I'm doing, and sort of just getting on the same page and saying, we're doing this together. Let's kind of just be open and honest with each other, and it's worked. It's worked. I'll leave it at that.
Well, how does it work in terms of copyright with jewelry and design?
That's
it's sort of a tricky topic.
It
right?
is. That's extremely difficult. You just have to sort of respect the people that you're working with. Hearts are one of my favorite things. Mm-hmm. Every designer has made some variation of a diamond heart. So I can't take credit for, the little heart solitaire necklace I'm wearing, but I try to make my version of a heart different than everyone else's. And that's all you can do, is sort of put your own twist on things. And just, move forward and not get yourself worked up about it.
Yeah. Okay, so you are beautifully decked out.
Take
us through. What are you wearing?
So this is
sort of through your jewelry.
This is a variation of my everyday.
And for those of you who are listening and not watching, she basically looks flawless and gorgeous, very styled, and she has tons of beautiful rings, some layered pieces around her neck, beautiful earrings, and okay, take it away.
So I have my staples. A lot of people actually ask what my basic everyday pieces are. I love rose gold, so I'm always in rose gold everything.
Yeah, that's so chic right now. I feel like that's so awesome.
And for me, when I got engaged, my actual engagement ring was my first rose gold piece. And so that was sort of my
special.
Yeah, it was. And so that's how I broke into rose gold. And my husband knew I was kind of dying to have something rose gold, and I thought it was really sweet that was the first piece I had in rose. And so I mix and match with other colors too, but majority is rose. I really love kind of delicate pave pieces, and definitely anything that stacks is something that I'm gonna own.
Okay.
I have my original wedding band and a new piece that my husband worked with me to create. So it's half emerald cut, diamonds on top, and then you spin it, and there's rainbow on the bottom.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
So that's definitely my favorite piece right now. Obviously rainbows are super hot for everything, but I've been a rainbow fanatic forever, so I feel like I'm an OG rainbow fan.
Okay.
And so it's just my daily dose of happy.
And I love this heart. Is this your heart?
That's one of mine, yes.
That's so beautiful. And
Yeah.
wait, I want to see the other hand too. So these are really pretty little stackable rings as well. Is this everything that you have designed pretty much?
Mostly. With a mix of some other designers that I work with too.
And I love the mixing. I feel like that's nice because you're kind of paying homage to others and putting your stamp on it.
Yeah, and it was hard for me to decide, should I work with other designers and represent them? Should I only do my own thing? But for me, there's so many other designers' pieces that I love and wanted to be able to promote.
Right, and how could you not? It's life is
hard
complicated, right?
Yeah, it was really hard for me to decide one route or the other, so I just I do it all.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell us the story behind your engagement ring, because I don't know, it seems like a lot of pressure for a guy to buy a diamond ring for a woman who's really interested in diamond rings.
This is true. On the flip side, he had help, so
okay, there you go.
That was that played to his benefit. But when we got engaged, my husband and I have been together since senior year of high school, so it was a long time coming. And we were 24, so it wasn't something I was pressuring him to do. It kind of came unexpected for me. So I was working for a diamond wholesale company, and part of my job was to come up with new designs for pieces for that company. So I was always saving inspiration boards onto my computer, and I had one corner of my desktop that I shared with him, and it would always be my favorite recent engagement ring design, and when I found something new that I liked better, I would trash the old one and put that one on top.
Oh, that's fun.
So the latest when we got engaged was a split shank design, and he worked with my former boss to find the perfect diamond and create the ring, which I'm obsessed with, and it's become like my number one selling style, which is just crazy because I've now made the ring, probably 30 plus times.
That's amazing.
And I still love it. And the rose gold felt really different to me. And again,
Yeah.
It was my first rose piece, so it was super special. And he also knew I am a matchy-matchy person. So he knew that I would want something else rose if I was going to have an engagement ring in rose. So when he proposed, he actually proposed with a Cartier box. And it was a love bracelet inside in rose gold. And I said, like, what is this for? Like, it's a random day in April. Yeah. And I looked on the inside, it was inscribed April 26, 2012. So I said, what's April 26th? And then he said, it's the day I asked you to marry me. And he had the box with the ring. So I got my,
cute.
It was amazing.
That's a good story.
It was a really good proposal. I got 2 pieces of jewelry that day, so.
Bonus.
Yes, definitely. And,
the rest is history.
The rest is history, yes.
Okay, so a couple more business questions because I know a lot of people have asked me about this, and I wanted to ask you about it.
Mm-hmm.
The jewelry industry is so interesting because most of the clients are women, but most of the prominent and preeminent jewelers out there are men. And you're kind of changing the tide, which I think is so amazing and awesome. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about what it feels like or what the experience is like to be a woman in a male-dominated field.
I think that there's a huge benefit to understanding what women want because the women are the ones who end up wearing the jewelry. And so a lot of my followers are female, and they're sort of directing their boyfriends to come to me. So I was actually speaking to someone in the industry yesterday who's trying to do something that's more male focused, and wanted to partner with me because he acknowledges that most of my business is being funneled through the women. Mm-hmm. And I think with Instagram and Pinterest and all of these ways for women to sort of see what they like and put together mood boards and sort of guide their boyfriends in the right direction, we're taking on, we're taking the power back and sort of saying, like, this is what I want. Here's where you can go get it.
Yeah.
I've given you all the information. Now you just have to run with it.
Which is cool.
It is. I think it's great. And
Yeah.
I think it's very different than when you would go to a jeweler on 47th Street and he would show you 3 diamonds and 2 settings and say, here, this is it, pick one. And now it's very much about, the design process, and of course the diamond is always the focus of the budget and also the purchase, but it's anyone can sell a diamond, not anyone can create a beautiful ring. And so I think that now the focus is more so on the setting itself.
Yeah, and the artistry and the process.
Exactly.
That's so cool. Okay, some quick rapid fire questions for
Okay.
you. Platinum or gold?
Rose gold.
Asher cut or radiant cut?
Asher.
Dinner in or dinner out?
In.
Do you pack light or do you bring everything you've got with you?
Pack heavy.
Pack heavy. What's the first thing you do in the morning?
Check my phone.
I know, right?
It's
We're
so
like
bad.
so addicted to those things. And the last thing you do at night, I'm sure. Too,
Definitely,
right?
yes.
What's the biggest trend you regret following?
That's really hard. I can't think of one.
You weren't a jelly shoes fan.
Oh, I guess like the Steve Madden platform is a good one, but that was way back.
Okay, what's kind of an essential fashion item, not including jewelry, that you think any stylish New Yorker should have?
A great coat. Like, we spend 3/4 of the year in a coat, so it better be a good one.
It better be like nicely tailored and
Yes,
flattering.
absolutely.
Okay, I totally agree with that. What is next in store for your jewelry company?
That's a good question. I'm really trying to navigate the world of online jewelry buying because that's clearly the future for any shopping, and sort of automating the process. Like right now, we are very much involved in every purchase that's happening, even if it's coming from online. but if there is some way to streamline that process so that it's sort of, you know, more automatic, I would love to figure something like that out. Not to compete with Blue Nile, but to create my own version of, you know, a personalized service that's very easy to understand and navigate.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think everyone would want that, right?
Working on it.
And is there a celeb that you would just dream to style? Like, who would you love to outfit in beautiful jewelry for a special event?
Oh my God, there's so many. I would love to work with Rachel Zoe because I think that A, she works with some of the best female actresses out there, and B, her style is impeccable and her jewelry is like beyond.
She's so chic.
Yeah, she would be incredible to work with.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So I kind of already know the answer to this question because we were chatting about it before, but what is the one product from Scientific Beauty that you're most into and interested in?
I'm very much interested in the eyelash serum. I was an addict to the eyelash extensions and then had like a freak out moment that I was going to lose all of my eyelashes.
Which can really happen. You get eyelash alopecia from that.
So that's not something I want to do long term. So I'm excited to see how the product works.
Yeah, okay, and we're going to gift that to you, so
Thank you.
keep us posted.
Yes.
And that's a little treat for thanking you for being on our show.
Definitely.
And then finally, you know, this is Beauty Bosses, so I wanted to ask you what beauty means to you.
I think beauty is about whatever makes you feel confident. And so, you know, I'm actually not even really a beauty buff in the traditional sense that, you know, I don't have a real skincare routine, and I'm not.
I'll help you.
Thank you. I need that.
We'll talk about that offline.
Yes. I don't love makeup. Like that's never been my thing. But I think anything that makes you feel confident when you walk out of your house in the morning, that to me is beauty.
Yeah, that's really nicely put. And what does being a boss mean to you?
Being a boss means it means being good to the people who support you. It means trying to disrupt in a positive way whatever you're doing and kind of turning things on its head. And again, just like being confident in your decisions.
I think that's so nicely and articulately put.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You were an amazing guest, and it was so interesting to learn about your journey.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
of course, my pleasure.